Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast that's about other podcasts, where every single week we have a deep dive discussion about a podcast we recommended last week. And at the end of this episode, we're going to recommend a new show, and we'll talk about that one next week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. And this week we're starting the first of our bonus recommendations for our 100-ish celebration. And it's from Keith at Pop-Up Filmcast. We love the show. We've covered their show, and he's a great guy. So if you're interested in some great
He's our movie correspondent.
Fun, yeah, he's a great guy. It's a great show. And he recommended Wolverine the Long Night. And we did the first 2 episodes is what we kind of locked in on.
So I really miss doing narrative podcasts. But with that said, it is really hard to get discussion points off of a narrative podcast.
Yeah. No,
so we're gonna squeeze every bit of discussion we can out of it because it's great. It is good. And actually, I liked season 2 even better, which is the something about the Lost Trail or something like that. He's in Louisiana, and it's different, but it's still real good. But it's a good story. It does. I feel like it did take a little bit to kind of like ramp up.
That's usually a good story though, and especially because I feel like you can tell. Okay, first 2 episodes, you can tell that it's a slow burn. You know, it's more set up like. It honestly reminded me of like the setup of like a True Detective, where you're like, oh, there's whispers of things happening, and like they set an ambiance of like stuff's happening, and then you obviously. I feel like that has to be one of the most recognizable superheroes. Wolverine, like that's a pretty popular one in general pop culture.
Yeah. And
so like when they're like, oh, his claws, it's not like, I mean, I guess there's some people that are surprised by that. There's maybe some people that aren't like, because I'm nerdy. It's fine. But like it wasn't doing anything there, but literally there wasn't like a Wolverine like fight scene in the first 2 episodes. So they really did focus on the narrative of the thing. They wanted it to be a good story, an effective story.
Yeah, and the first season is centered in Alaska, and he was basically running from this organization that's trying to find him. I forget the name of the organization, but it's the ones that made him, essentially. And so they've got people chasing him down because he's a weapon that they've made. And I'm a nerd, but not good enough of a nerd to remember all of the lore.
Is it Google?
Yes, Google made him as a weapon. But so he's in Alaska, and so he was trying to lay low and stay away and not be found. But they're hot on his trail, and that's where the story begins because people are starting to be killed in Alaska, and they're at first saying that it's bears, but
we all know it's not bears.
So Wolverine was always one of my favorite superheroes, and I think that he's always been so conflicted. You know, he's like not a good guy. He's got these powers and stuff like that. And he was not scared to like cross the line, and he kills so many people in all the comic books. Yeah. They are intense. I remember when I used to go on hunting trips with my dad in Alabama, and that's what I would get. I would get comic books at the gas station, and I remember getting a trade of Wolverine. So I just read all of these Wolverine comics, and it was great. I loved it. So that's kind of this fond memory that I have of Wolverine and learning about him through comic books.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, he is a very violent character, and yeah, he's not really wanting to be like a superhero. So it's kind of an anti-hero type thing. He ends up doing the right thing for the most part, typically. But I feel like the movie Logan is the closest to like comic book Wolverine that we ever saw in like the universe. I think Hugh Jackman was great at it. But like they kind of I don't know. They took away a little bit of that gray area that Wolverine lived in. But Logan is a great movie. So if you're at all interested in Wolverine and you don't like the weird movie where he was fighting Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool the first time when he couldn't talk, and it's like, okay, this is weird, then Logan's a great one to check out. That's maybe my favorite comic book movie that has been made.
Yeah, no, that is a good one. And it's intense. So like, it's not like a Marvel movie that you go watch with your kids. It's an intense movie.
Yeah, you should not take your kids to that probably.
But it's very well made. It's heart wrenching. It's good. It's just good.
Yeah, it's great.
This week's episode is brought to you by Made to Order Podcasts. Made to Order Podcast creates personalized podcasts for you, about you, your friends, or your loved ones. So basically, they talk to you about what story you want to craft, and they will make a one-of-a-kind script just for you, and they'll produce a podcast with professional narration, professional music into a high-quality MP3 file. It's perfect for like weddings and birthdays, anniversaries, and especially in this time of COVID, because it's, you can't go to a birthday party, but you want to give a gift to somebody. You just have this personalized thing made for them. It's awesome.
Yeah, and this is something that, like you said, it's great for doing for weddings or birthday parties, or if you really just want to prank one of your friends at this point. It's fun to reach out any way you can over kind of the digital world that we're living in right now. You can include your favorite memories, inside jokes, funny stories, and then also when they make your podcast, you get 2 podcast style advertisements based on your interests or funny stories, or
I loved that.
Yeah, things that annoy you, whatever is kind of a funny thing to have as an advertisement. You find that pet peeve of your friend and you have that be both of the advertisements in your podcast you make. If you'd like to find out more about this, visit madetoorderpodcast.com to get started creating your personalized podcast today. Yeah, it's great.
So we asked in our podcast Discovery Club what everybody's favorite superhero is.
All right, let's get into it. I'm going to look like a jerk, but I'm right. So
I'm going to start from the least favorite all the way. And there was some that people didn't pick at all. So Vlado, I let people vote for more than one because, you can have more than one that you really like. So Vlado voted for Deadpool and The Flash. I don't know anything about The Flash.
Ooh, honestly, I got into The Flash because of comic books. There was one. See, like how Twigs is saying, my mom. She's not even in our Facebook group. She came up with that joke all on her own. She's not in the Facebook group, right?
I think she is. I don't know.
Oh, maybe she is. I don't know.
I invited her. I don't know if she accepted or not. And then I did put, and this is what Zach's saying, is I put your mom and your dad separately.
That's not what we're talking about. And I'd like to point out that mom got 1 billion votes and dad got what?
1. It's me.
It's you. So, and that is not the point. Everyone, be nice to your parents. Appreciate your parents. I firmly support that. But we're not talking about parents. We're talking about fictional superheroes. And your mom is not one. Although I do love that he framed it as your mom. So people didn't know if he was saying your mom. Like, it's everybody's voting for Kirk's mom is what I'm getting. It's like everybody's like, your mom is my superhero.
What? Dang it.
Homelander. We just got in chat that Homelander is one of his favorites, is Josh's favorite.
Gosh.
Homelander is the worst, but an amazing character. It's that weird thing of like a lot of times villains are more well developed. They're more well developed because, think about like, I guess I'm trying to think of somebody that's kind of just like meh as like a hero. I feel like that's kind of the thing with Flash and like the TV shows and like kind of what they've done with it in like the movie universe. The comic book ones is more interesting, but it's kind of just like, I run fast, and he doesn't really have any like demons that are like he's dealing with or anything like that. Homelander is clearly a psychopath. It's fascinating to watch this guy be insane and be a superhero at the same time. It's literally if Superman was the devil. And it's like, yeah, that's great to watch. There's always something great about the villain that's well defined.
So Keith voted Batman. That's the only vote for Batman.
Batman's great.
Roger, my cousin, voted Iron Man. Iron Man is very up there on mine, specifically on the movies. Like they made such a good job. They did such a good job casting and stuff with Iron Man. So I don't know anything about the comics, so I didn't pick that one. Wolverine was the next one, and I picked Wolverine. I'm the only one that picked Wolverine, and we're talking about Wolverine this week. Zach, you picked the Hulk along with Keith and along with Luke. So the Hulk got some love. He got third place. Spider-Man came in second place with 4 votes, and then in first place, your mom.
Kirk's mom. Kirk's mom won the whole thing.
My mom's the MVP.
MVP of this whole poll is Kirk's mom.
God, what is happening?
Josh is testing our Twitch bot right now, but joke's on you. We had to approve that already because of you. I think Twigs let it through.
Oh man. So the fun of the live stream. If you're not on the live stream, you need to be part of it. It's fun. And I mean, now you get to see Josh get censored by the bot and then have to get allowed to say the things that he says.
Literally, our bot log right now is allowed butthole. Allowed. What was the other one? He said something ridiculous. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to look at it later. But it's literally just filled with things that Josh is saying that are typically anatomy based that are having to be approved by mods for the Twitch channel.
So back to the actual podcast, the sound, of course, the sound quality and everything is amazing. It's very well produced. The voiceover is amazing. And they actually have some pretty famous people on there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Scott Adsit was on 30 Rock. Thorin Oakenshield is Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
He's
got that good voice, man. He's got that deep gravelly voice.
Yeah, isn't he from the UK too? He's got a really good American accent. Yeah, he's definitely British. But yeah, they have a really great cast. It does sound amazing. That is one of the things you're kind of looking for when you're listening to something like this, is it puts more atmosphere on it. That's one of the things that I feel like this show did very well, is they did the little things very, very well. You hear when they're on the boat, you hear the ocean, you hear people talking in the background. It sounds great. Honestly, the production quality is incredible on it. And honestly, if you like narrative podcasts, you should definitely check this out. And definitely if you like comic books too, 100% go listen to this show. It's a really fun listen. It's more just it's hard. We don't want to go through point by point of every arc of the episode, but in the end, it's a fantastic show.
No, it really is. It's very well made, and it does go from season 1 into season 2. And I will tell you from experience, because I've listened to both seasons, that season 2 is very good. So it's definitely worth. I think season 2, in my opinion, is better than season 1. It gets, at least action wise, it's definitely a lot more action.
So then that's another bonus. It doesn't do terrible season 2. It's even better. You need to go check it out. So all of this comic book stuff got me thinking. We literally watched what?
Oh, I thought you were still thinking about nachos. I'm still thinking about nachos.
I mean, I could go for some nachos. I could. No, but basically, I remember when we were kids, so when you would have gotten that Wolverine comic, or when we were getting comics as kids, it was kind of like a fringe thing. It wasn't everybody's getting comics. Everybody knows who Iron Man is, all of this stuff. And then we saw where now they do. If you say who is Iron Man, they'd be like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. I've seen it. They're very familiar with who these characters are. And so I wanted to kind of dig into how this all kind of happened, because I also remember there was a transition period where essentially you had goofy, weird, corny stuff from. I think they were doing stuff in like the 70s and the 80s. They were doing weird Marvel comic movies, but they were kind of like odd. There was a weird Fantastic Four in there. I mean, the Superman movies were probably the most famous aside from
Oh
Batman.
man, I grew up on this. I remember the Superman movies being awesome to me as a kid, but looking back, they're so cheesy. But I loved them because they were fairly serious for a superhero movie. That was like one of the first ones that wasn't like a comedy.
No, and Christopher Reeve kind of nailed that. He was a great Superman. So like you kind of get that era, and then in between that, you have kind of like transition type movies. So there was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Mm-hmm. The first two absolutely blew up. And they were owned by Sony. You know, it was a whole thing. That's why there was like the Spider-Man Homecoming thing, is because Sony owned the rights to Spider-Man specifically from a long time ago. I think those were like mid 2000, like 2000 decade, where it's just like they would just put these things out. And
that's why he wasn't allowed to be in the Avengers for a while as well.
Yeah, because he is an Avenger.
He is an Avenger, but they couldn't have him in there for a long time because Sony still had him. They're like, nope, give us a ridiculous amount of money and we'll let you have him. But
I think they got it.
Eventually they did.
No, but I will also say that I think that what they're doing right now is the best version of how Spider-Man is in like the comic books, because he's kind of like goofy all the time. I like the first two of the old movies, you know, the Sam Raimi ones. They're good. But I feel like this is the best version. But then the weird one to me, and Batman movies were pretty good. They were weird because Tim Burton was doing it. So
they were
odd.
Not good, in my opinion.
No, the first one was pretty good.
Even as a kid, I was like, these are weird.
First one was pretty good.
I don't know if I like this or not.
Yeah, I don't know. It was odd. They got good with Christopher Nolan was when that happened. But those are still the best DC movies that have ever been made, in my opinion. But then you had The Punisher. Have you seen that movie? The Thomas Jane, John Travolta Punisher that's shot in Tampa?
Yes.
That movie, I think, would do better now than it did then.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was I
agree with you. Every time I go ride bikes in Tampa, I'm like, hey, Jenny, that's where they shot The Punisher. She's like, you tell me that every single time. Because we go past that bridge. Like, there's a big fight scene right there.
It had a great cast. It was really dark for a Marvel movie at the time. They just kind of went with it. But then Disney bought Marvel, and they bought them in like 2009.
Disney,
and that's when everything kind of busted loose. And I can't tell, I don't know the exact timeline on how this all worked. But Iron Man, which was what I would say was kind of the launch of everything that Marvel is now.
Mm-hmm.
But that was 2008. And I think Disney bought them afterwards. So like, I don't know if it was like which one was first. But Iron Man was out, and then they started this whole like current Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's just completely different now. It's completely different now, and it's weird to watch kind of things that were nerdy become less nerdy.
And I don't know where we're at now, to be honest, because there was a time, I would say, in the last 2 years where it felt like we got oversaturation with superhero movies, TV shows.
I definitely am oversaturated.
Cartoons.
No, that's why people love The Boys. It subverts all of it.
And I think that they have backed off on that because they were putting out too much stuff. I mean, it was still being successful by most metrics, but you know, for how much effort it was burning everybody out. Same thing with Star Wars. I mean, I will say Disney has a tendency to like, you know, beat a dead horse a little bit too much, where you got to give some breaks somewhere so that people are ready for it again. And I don't think we were, because we had all these TV shows that kind of failed and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like we're getting back to the sweet spot, but that could be because we have no movies anymore.
Yeah. Okay. That is why Keith recommended this. And it's weird. There has not been a movie that has been released are we at like almost 6 months now? Like They're major movies.
That kind of blows my mind, but I think you're probably right.
We missed the summer blockbusters. We missed the entire summer. No major studio excreted a terrible CGI movie this summer. Didn't happen. It's a weird time. And like, honestly, I'm a little concerned about, can movie theaters survive it? I think that it's going to be challenging for some of them to get through it. I think indie movie theaters are going to get wrecked. But
yeah,
in the end, I hope it comes back. I miss movies, but I wonder if people are going to start switching to like trying to find some way to like live stream plus, so not like straight to Disney Plus doesn't really make them money. I guess you can get people that sign up just for that.
Did you see what they're doing with this new live action Mulan, which I'm not going to lie, it looked amazing.
They're putting it on Disney Plus, right?
Out. They're putting it on Disney Plus, but you've got to pay $30 for it.
Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, can they find some other way to monetize?
How this works. Like I'm wondering if enough people are going to do, like, I want to watch it, but $30 seems like a lot of money.
I'll wait until it's not $30 to watch on the same TV I'm going to watch when it's not $30.
That's the thing is like, if I'm going to spend $30 for my whole family to go watch a movie, which it's probably just me and my wife, if it's $30, but because it is expensive.
It's just on your TV. Oh no, you're talking about if you're going out.
Yeah.
Okay. I was your kids can watch it. It's on your TV.
So I'm going for the experience. So it's like I get it that it's like it's still a little bit cheaper if you have a whole family and there's more people watching it,
and you're not paying like gold bullion price for popcorn. You can just make it at home, Jiffy Pop.
But it's the whole experience of being at a theater.
Yeah.
There is something about, even though you're not talking to other people in the theater, there's that communal feeling. You got this, like, especially if it's like an exciting new movie, like let's say a new Star Wars movie or, an Avengers movie, and you go on opening night. There's something special about that. It's hard to explain. It's just other people around you that are being quiet in the same room as you, but there's like, you can feel it. There's like excitement. And you definitely can't get that in your living room with your kids walking in and out playing on your iPads. You
have to make them get off the iPad. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, there's a lot of movies that I pass on until watching on the TV. I feel like there's a lot of movies that you're not missing a whole lot by not getting the movie theater experience. I do think the movie theater is an experience that's worth doing for a lot of movies. Mulan, the original one, is amazing. I would probably wait for it to be on streaming services for this. So I probably would not want to pay $30 for it. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pay $30 for it.
I mean, honestly, if you wait it out, it's going to be on the exact same platform minus the $30.
Yeah. Josh makes a good point in the chat. He says VR will destroy movie theaters experience once the tech gets mature enough. And I agree with that. I mean, that could be.
Yeah, sure.
I can visualize the first VR movie is just going to blow people's minds.
Yeah. And
just like what Avatar did with 3D. It was mind blowing. And then, 3D got ridiculous. And everything had to come out in 3D for a while.
And then it failed because why? It did not add anything to me. Like, sure, okay, I see it. But it's not like, oh, I need this movie to be in 3D.
I did like in 3D how they pivoted from the tropes of just stuff coming out at your face and scaring you to just making it look prettier and with more depth. I do like that.
It's a smart decision because that's real stupid. I've ridden the Terminator ride at Universal Studios before. I'm good. I've figured that out.
Yeah.
So continuing our 100th episode celebration, we have Paul from the Varmints podcast. He gave us a recommendation today right after talking to us for the Pod 6 interview series they're doing. And he gave us not one, but two really fun recommendations. And bonus recommendation, Varmints podcast is great. I have never listened to an episode and not enjoyed it. It's a great, great show. So if you like learning about animals, check out Varmints. But then
It is
Paul
great.
also told us to check out 2 different shows, and I think Kirk has already queued up the episodes we're going to do.
Yes.
It is time for Varmints Podcast to give us a recommendation for our 100-ish celebration.
Yay! Happy 100. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2. One of them is kind of a little cheater recommendation because they're on the Podfix network already. It's Chris Green and Adam Saunders. They have spun off of the Gravitybeard show, and they're doing This Week Today as its own show, and it's going to be a weekly show. They've done it on the Gravitybeard feed before. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun, and it's This Week Today. They tell you what's going on that week. Who was born, who died. Big things in the news that happened on that day or that week in history, and it's really funny. Adam and Chris are really great together. The main one I wanted to tell you guys about is called Ding.
Ding.
And what this is a comedy songwriting podcast. It's comedy, it's improv, it's songwriting, and basically there's these 3 people. I don't know their names. I'm really sorry. 2 musicians and 1 comedian singer, and they have a prompt. And based on that prompt, they write an entire song. They write the lyrics and they perform that song. But the journey from that prompt to the final song is what's amazing. And they're really, really funny and really talented. And at the end of it, you hear this full production, this full song that they've written and sang. And it's just amazing. And it's hilarious. It's one of the most unique podcasts I've heard in quite a while.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
It's called Ding?
Ding. D-I-N-G.
So yeah, thank you, Paul, so much for your recommendations. We have Ding and the Gravitybeard This Week Today. So the episode of Ding that we're going to recommend is Season 1, Episode 8, Just Bag It. And then for This Week Today, we're going to recommend the one that's still on the Gravitybeard feed. It's Gravitybeard 254, This Week Today, Episode 100. Where's the baby?
Where's the baby? That's always a good sign that's what it's called. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Paul. We really appreciate getting bonus recommendations here, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. So, thanks everybody for listening, and remember,
there's always more to discover.
For listening to the Podcast Discovery Show. We have a few things we'd like to tell you. First, we would love to hear from you on Twitter at the PDS Official or in our Facebook group, the Podcast Discovery Club.
Secondly, leaving a rating or review on iTunes helps tremendously in giving us visibility and also visibility to the podcast that we recommend. You can also check out our Patreon page to get exclusive bloopers, old episode archives, and other exclusive content while supporting the show.
Finally, seriously, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you about what you love about podcasts. And thank you for being a part of all of the things that we do.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network.